Welcome to the Special Olympics Coach Webinar Series 2024, presented by our official sponsor, Gallagher. Thank you to Gallagher for their continued support as official sponsor of Special Olympics sport and coach programming. Thank you to you all for joining today's workshop as we offer coaches more learning opportunities around areas you want to learn about. Today's workshop is all about floorball coaching. This webinar offers interpretation in 8 languages. You can choose your language using the global button at the bottom of the screen. Please add any question you have for the speakers in the chat or QA function.
Awesome. So hi, everyone. This is Taylor Mead, the Senior Director of Health Programming for Special Olympics New York. I'm just joining Tommy today. So Tommy, can you tell everyone how you got involved with Special Olympics?
My mom signed me up for 30 years ago to play basketball skills.
Awesome. And other than basketball, what are all the sports that you play?
Powerlifting, floorball, softball, swimming, bocce, basketball, track and field.
And Tommy, you are an athlete leader and were nominated to become a fitness captain. What is your favorite thing you get to do as a fitness captain?
I get to help my coaches by warming up my teammates. I also motivate them to work out.
Awesome. And do your coaches support you when you are in your fitness captain role?
My coaches always support me and motivate me.
And why do you think that being a fitness captain is important?
To lead by example and to teach other athletes how important warm up and cool down is. Steen Houman is the president of Floorball Denmark. He sits on the central board of the International Floorball Federation and his global ambassador for floorball for the Special Olympics Floorball resource team. Welcome, Steen.
Thank you very much, Tommy. And I'll share my screen. So hold on, everyone. So hopefully, I hope everybody can see my slides now. Otherwise, please say so.
They're not full screen yet, Steen.
Not full screen, then we are waiting. Maybe I did something wrong. Jeff, let's do it one more time. Share screen. I choose window. No, the whole screen. Share. And then we go to the slide decks. And is everybody able to see my screen now?
Yeah, looks good.
Looks good. Perfect. Thank you very much for all of you who are attending this coach webinar series. My name is Steen Houman, and I will run through some of the Floorball ABC in this webinar. And for sure, you are always welcome to reach out to me afterwards regarding whatever floorball questions you might have. And this is really a great job and a great opportunity for Special Olympics to do these seminars in order to share our knowledge between all those sports that we have, so we can improve what we want to do for our athletes. And as mentioned, we have this simultaneous interpretation, so I assume everybody is doing fine. I will try not to speak too fast, so it should hopefully work perfectly. And Tommy, you already met our fitness captain, who welcomed me. And once again, thank you very much, Tommy. And yes, this is how I look. And I will start with the floorball warm-up. For me, it's very important to give you this message. Always use the ball for warm-up. Don't spend time running without the ball. Try and make some drills where you have the ball involved, because they are here to play floorball, so they need to warm up with floorball. And some very simple drills that you can use for warm-up is like basic ball control while you're standing, like dribble the ball in front of you from side to side. You can also variate it, so you dribble with one hand or with two hands, and you can dribble with different moves. It's very important to make these basic dribbling moves while you stand, because this is where you warm up your arms and your hands in order to have a good smooth control of the ball. This is how all good players actually start. They start with this basic ball control while they're standing and just dribbling, and they're using different variations: one hand, two hand, the ball in front, the ball at side. So this is very important. Next, I would recommend is that you have like 2 meters between the players, and then they will just move from one side to the other. So they will be facing front to front. They will do the passing, and the one player, he will move backwards and the other one will move forwards. So now you start slowly to get them moving, and still you have the ball involved all the time. And it's important to keep this short distance in order to get as many passes as possible. When you have done this, then make sure the players have like 4 to 5 meters distance between them, and then start to make different passing, like with the forehand or with the backhand, and make sure that the ball is rolling on the floor and it's not flying up in the air. And also remember to get some speed on the ball, because now the distance is a bit more with 4 and 5 meters. The last drill, which is very much used, is that we have 3 players together, 2 players in one side and 1 player on the other side. The ball starts in the group with 2 players. He passes the ball to the other side, and then he runs over to this player that he is just passing the ball to. This player, he takes the ball and then he just passes back. So in this way, you run to the direction of where you're passing, and in this way you get both a lot of passing and you get a lot of running. These are like very, very basic warm-up. But when you do your warm-up, make sure you have the ball involved all the time. Remember, our athletes, they are here to play floorball. They're not here for running. So make sure and try to get the floorball involved as much as possible. When we talk about warm-up for the goalkeeper, it's the basic thing is actually the hands, because the hand is really, really important. So just to start to teach your athletes how to juggle the ball in the air. They can start with 1 ball, depending on how good their motor skills is. And then they can get to 2 balls and to 3 balls. But this trains the eye-hand coordination, and this is very, very much used also at the top level with International Floorball. The next drill is that you need to throw and catch the ball. So you will sit in front of the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper will have 1 ball in the hand. You won't have a ball, and then he throws the ball to you and you throw it back. So you throw the ball to each other. If your goalkeeper is getting more skilled, then you have 2 balls. So you have a ball and the goalkeeper have a ball. And then you throw from your right arm to his left arm, and he throws from his right arm to your left arm. And this needs to be done in like a smooth movement, so you throw and catch at the same time. In floorball, it's important to be good at throwing and catching the ball with both hands. Normally, of course, you will throw the ball with your strong arm, but it's very important that you're good at catching with your weaker arm. So this is like the next level. Then it's very important to stretch the legs, to spend some time to stretch the legs of the goalkeeper, because they are moving a lot. So they need to be really, really flexible on this. So do spend some time on this. And then it's very important when they sit, like you can see in the picture, that they try to move from one side to the other side. And they try to see, can I actually slide on the floor? The goalkeeper's equipment, the trousers, it's made so it's actually possible to slide. And that makes the movement of the goalkeeper faster from side to side. So try to think about, how can I make some drills where my goalkeeper works on his knees in order to sit and slide from one side to the other side, or just move from one side to the other side. The aim for the warm-up is actually just to get the basic warm. And in floorball, of course, it's our legs, and then it's our hands, and it's our arms. These are the basic things that we need to get warm. So this is very important. And try to get as many touches with the ball so your basic control improves. In order to get good at floorball, you need to play floorball. And the more contact you have with the ball, the better you will be at floorball. And that's why I emphasize to try and have as much floorball within. Use the ball as much as possible when you do the warm-up. And always remember, when you do the warm-up, it must create a very good atmosphere. The player must be happy. They must be in a good mood. So try to make some fun during your warm-up. And you know what works best with your athletes, but it's very important to get a good atmosphere. In the end, and this is of course different from coach to coach, I prefer that when you end the warm-up, you have like 3 to 5 minutes, which is individual warm-up. Some would like to stretch, some would like to shoot, some would like to pass the ball, some would like to dribble. We are all different, and the players are also different. And some they like to do something special, which is important to them. So you as a coach, give them like 3-5 minutes at the end of the warm-up where it's free what they want to do, because they have something they want to warm up specially. So this is a good way to do it. Now we come to the match. And I need to tell you about meaningful involvement, because this is very important within Special Olympics. And for sure, you all know about this. All players must be involved. Unfortunately, when I have been at the World Winter Games, I have seen some players on the bench not involved that much. So please remember, it's very important that we have all players involved. And also that you try to talk to your athletes. What are the role of the players when we are in the match? Who are the defense players? Who are the offense players? Where on the court should I actually position myself when we are in defense? And where should I position myself when we are in attack? And then it's very important to remember, substitution wins matches. And what do I mean by this? Well, first of all, only make your substitution when the ball is in your control. Don't make substitution when the ball is at your opponent, because then it's very easy for them to get a goal scoring opportunity. But try to make only 45 seconds to 60 seconds as max when the players are on the court. Of course, they can stay longer for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, but try to see this. If your athlete is going to run 2 times 10 minutes, and he's going to run against someone, and they can sub a new athlete after like 45 to 60 seconds, our athlete who can't make any substitution will get tired. So therefore, try and make it's like 45 to 60 seconds that you have the players on court, and then you will make the substitutions, because then you can play at a high level with high energy, and that's how you win matches, because otherwise your players will be tired. So it's important to try to have this strategy for substitutions. I have seen some teams playing like 6, 7, 8 minutes before they will make the substitutions, and they will run out of energy. So remember this. It's so important that you have this strategy for your subs. And you don't have to make substitution with all the players on the court. When we are playing 3 against 3, you can have a player who plays double, and then the 2 other players goes out. That's fine. It's up to you to have a strategy for subs, but you must remember all players must be involved. And then remember, I tend to see that if you only use your best players from start, what will you do when you get behind, when you need to have all players involved? So if you come behind 4-0 and you have started with all your best players, then of course, as a coach who wants to win and the team wants to win, then you have a big problem. So you need to have a strategy on not to play all your best players from start. So have a clear strategy for your substitution on when you want each player to be involved. And regarding substitution, remember, only when you are in control of the ball, you will make the substitution. This is something you need to train with your athletes, so they are aware of this. Only make substitutions when you are in control of the ball. What you can do is go behind the goal with the ball, because the danger there is limited, and then the two other players, they can go out and make the substitutions, and then the player with the ball behind the goal, he plays the ball to one of the new players getting in, and then he can get out. If you have a problem with getting one player out, make sure they switch position so you get this player as close as possible to the substitution area, and then it's easy to make the substitutions. Sometimes they get stuck at the court because that's how then the flow of the game is, and that's what is happening. But try and see if you can train them to learn how to get close to the substitution area in order to get out. When we have the free hit, we need to remember two things. What is the aim with the free hit? First of all, you need to train your athlete this. You use it for substitution. So those three players who are on the court, they get a free hit. Then it's not them who are going to shoot. They go out and make substitution, because now we are in control of the ball. And when they go out, then you get 3 new players in. Then they have time to have a small chat about how will we execute this free hit. Because if those players who are at the court, who gets the free hit, if they take it, then they will have a longer time on the court. So teach your athletes that when we get a free hit, we make substitutions, because the ball is ours and it's free to make the substitutions. And it gives your athletes time to have a small chat about how will we execute this free hit. It's about creating a goal scoring opportunity. This is what the free hit is about. And please don't shoot directly. It's not like in football or soccer where you have the wall in front of you and you try to shoot. This won't work with floorball. You need to have something other than just shooting. And then also you need, when you train your players to do this free hit, where on the court is the free hit actually? And then remember, when we have the free hit, there is a 3-meter distance. And if the defense is not 3 meters away, they can get a 2 minutes penalty. So remember this 3 meters distance. That's important. You always need 2 to 3 persons at the free hit. You can see the court on the right, and you can see there are some blue spots. If you have the free hit in front of goal, you need to have a plan about how can we make this free hit. If you have the free hit on each side of the court, it's more tricky to get a goal scoring opportunity, but you need to make some wise moves in order to do so. And of course, if you have a free hit on your own half, maybe it's not about creating a goal scoring opportunity, but just to start the game again. But you need to have some kind of plan of how do we execute the free hit in front of goal, or if we are on the side of the goals. Typically, you can see here, you have 3 defenders in the wall, and you have the player in the middle with the ball. The chance, if he tries to shoot directly for scoring, is very, very limited. It will be like 1 out of 1,000 if it happens. So don't shoot directly. The player with the ball can pass the ball either to the player on his left or the player on his right, who will have a better opportunity to create a goal scoring chance. Also, you can try this version. The player with the ball in the middle, he plays the ball to the player on the left. For sure, those who are the defenders, they will move towards the ball. If you have good players, then the player on the left, he can place the ball back to the player on the right, who would have an even better opportunity. So there are different ways of how to move the ball. And try to look at YouTube, try to use your imagination, what we can do. But also remember, what are the level of our athletes? What are they capable of? But please don't shoot directly. The chance of scoring is very limited. When we have the hit in, this is when the ball goes out of play. You always go with two persons to take the hit in. The reasons for this, why should we do that? Because one person goes down to take the free hit. He has two options. There are two players he can pass the ball to, but there are three defenders, which means the defenders easily can mark those two players out. So if you have this hit in, it's very difficult to pass the ball because the defenders can easily mark two players out. They are free defenders. So what to do? You go two players where the hit in is, and one player just touches the ball, and then the other player can take the ball and play with it. And then you have the ball under control. So when you have the hit in, always two persons to take the hit in. When we look at defense, it's very important that the defense try and work as a triangle. Here on my right, you can see the court. You have the blue team and you have the right team. The right team has the ball, it's yellow. And you can see that the blue team has lined up as a triangle. They are playing with one player at the back and two in the front. You can also change so you have two at the back and one at the front. But you need to try and teach your athletes that they need to work as a triangle, either with one player at the back or two players at the back. But try to have this triangle all the time. That's how you try to defend. Never on a line, because that's too easy to pass through. This will be very, very easy and you will not cover that much. So try and avoid to have your players, as you can see here, on the line. They need to work as a triangle. That's very important. And an example of this, again, we have the blue team who is the defense, and we have the red team who is in the attack. The ball is the yellow one. The blue team needs to line up like this. Again, you can see you have the triangle, because then it's very difficult for the red team to pass the ball. The player who has the ball, he can try and see if he actually can pass the ball to the player on the other side, but it's a very, very challenging and very, very dangerous pass, because the ball needs to go through the two blue players, and they will probably intercept it, and then you will have a counter attack. So the only option for the player with the ball is actually to pass the ball back to the player who is behind him, or he can try and see if he can dribbles. But if he dribbles, then he will move in and get the first player. He might get through him. Then you have the one who is in the back, who is like the backup. So the triangle is how you need to work in defense. So depending on where the ball is on the court, line up in a triangle. It takes some time before your athlete gets it, but that's how it's very easy for them to understand. We need to be working as a triangle. Here you can see another situation. Red team has the ball again. The ball is in the corner. Again, blue team is lined up as a triangle. So red team has, again, only few options. The player, he can pass the ball down the line and back. He can also try and pass the ball behind the goal and to the other side, and then the triangle will just move over to the other side. With this, you are actually covering a lot of the defense with this triangle. So it's important to try and teach them to work as a triangle. This is the important thing. When we come to the attack, make sure that all your players are moving around and change position. So don't have a player who's like on the left, a player in the middle, or a player at the right. The players must be able to play all three positions, and they need to move around. So the player who is on the right, he might be in the middle later on in the attack, and he might be on the left later on in the attack. So it's very important that all players are capable of moving. And the player with the ball, it's very important that he doesn't stand still. He needs to move around with the ball so he can create opportunity for passing or shooting. So it's important that you have the players to move around. Because what you want to do is create opportunities for shooting. And if the player with the ball just stands there, it's too easy to mark him for the defense, and it's not dangerous at all. So make sure that your players learn how to move around. And then the closer you are to goal, there's no need for your shot to be hard. Don't shoot hard, but you need to shoot fast. And the difference is that very often you will see your athlete, they will move the stick high in order to get as much speed on the stick as possible. But the time it takes to get the stick up in the air and down, it's too much, especially when you're very close to the goal. Instead, just execute very fast. You don't need to shoot that hard. You are very close to the goal, so it's actually more about executing the shot fast than shooting hard. The time for the goalkeeper is very little when you are so close, so remember that. Then you need to work with your athletes. How can we build an attack? Which means, how do we want to build it? Do we have some special movements? How do we get the ball in the corner? When we have the ball in the corner, what will we then do? So we need to try and make some basic, like 1, 2, 3 options for the players on how to attack. And then to the goalkeeper. For the goalkeeper, there is one thing that is very important, and that is how to use the legs. This is how you will save a lot of goals against your teams when you learn to teach your goalkeeper how to use his legs. You can see at the picture, the goalkeeper is sitting on the floor, and this is like the standard position for a goalkeeper. What is important is when the opponent team is trying to make a shot, then the goalkeeper needs to do this with his legs. As you can see, he's stretching out the legs in order to cover as much as the goal down at the floor, which means that if the ball will be shot and the ball will be low on the floor, then he will save the ball with his legs. This means that the goalkeeper only needs to focus his hands on what is coming higher up in the goal. Very often the goalkeeper sees the ball very late because there are players in front of him, so the ball might very, very slow be able for him to see. So therefore, it's very important that he try to shield his goal with his legs, as you can see in the 2 pictures below. So you need to train your goalkeepers on how to move your legs like this in order to shield down, and then you will save a lot of goals. If the goalkeeper will be situated, as you can see in the top picture, then if he sees the ball very slow, he needs to take down his hands before he can save the ball that is coming on the floor. But if he already have stretched out his legs, then it will be saved. So this is very important for you to work at. And if you try and look at some matches at YouTube, try and pay attention to the goalkeeper, or say to your athletes, here are there some clips on YouTube. Try and watch these goalkeepers on how they move. For sure, the goalkeeper is allowed to stand up, especially when they have the ball, so they can throw the ball out. But it's also an option for the goalkeeper to stand up and kick the ball. So if the ball is coming towards the goalkeeper is allowed to go out of the goal in order to kick the ball. And since foot passes is allowed, the goalkeeper is actually allowed to pass the ball with the foot to one of his players. One of the options that you will have is to take out the goalkeeper. And why should you take out the goalkeeper? You can take out the goalkeeper and bring in another field player. And you can do this if your team is behind. If it's late in the game and you're behind and you need to create a goal scoring opportunity, then you can take the goalkeeper out. So you can play 4 against 3, but you can also take him out if you're playing 4 against 2, and 2 players on the blue team means that they have received a 2 minutes penalty. So now you're actually playing 4 against 2, but of course with no goalkeeper. So it is with a bigger risk. But this is something you need to work with your athletes or your teams with. How do we feel safe enough to take out the goalkeeper in order to create an opportunity when we are perhaps behind? So you need to try and teach this. You need to try and train to play 4 against 2 or 4 against 3 in order to train this before the games. And then this is don't ever pass the ball in front of the goal. This is a very common situation. Red is having a counter attack, and the player on the left, he has the ball, and he has got the ball down to the left, and you can see one of the blue defenders, he's actually still behind because the blue team lost the ball. If we were playing football, we would probably try and pass the ball in front of the goal. But since the ball in floorball is so small, it's the chance of getting the ball into the player, the red player in front of the goal, is very, very bad. So if you play the ball in there, there's a much bigger risk that the blue team actually will intercept the ball, and then they will have a counter attack. And since they have a player who is haven't got home yet, they will have more or less a free player. So when you have the ball in the corner, don't pass the ball in front of the goal. It's so difficult to hit the ball for the teammates. So when you have the ball in the corner, you need to have other options. One option could be that the player goes behind the red player so he can play the ball backwards and he can take shots from there. He can play the ball behind the goal to the other side in order to create a better opportunity for shooting. But never ever pass the ball in front of the goal. Of course, you will have situations where it is obvious this is what you need to do. But if you have defenders in there, it's really, really risky. And like 7 or 8 times out of 10, you will have a counter attack against you. So remember, when you have the ball in the corner, please do not take the chance and pass the ball in front. This is really floorball ABC. And back to the floorball ABC. This is like a roundup of what I have been said to in this short webinar. Make sure you make the substitution after like 45 seconds. When you see the good teams, you will see they will make the substitutions. When I was at the last World Winter Games in Graz, there was a team who was actually quite skillful, and they made substitution every like 45 seconds. They played against actually a quite good team, but they had decided that half of the teams would play the first half and the rest of the teams would play the second half. And they just ran out of steam. So this team who made the substitutions all the time, like after 7-8 minutes, they just scored a lot of goals because the players were simply too tired. Floorball is a really, really fast game. So even though we are playing on a rather small court, the ball stays in play very much. So therefore, it's important to remember this with the substitutions. And then remember, pass the ball. Don't run with the ball. Of course, sometimes you need to run with the ball. But don't have one player to run around with the ball all the time. Make the ball do all the running. Pass the ball around. The ball never gets tired. Your players get tired. And then have some patience. Wait for opportunity before shooting. So don't shoot whenever you think, now I need to shoot. So have some patience for your players before they shoot. Sometimes, of course, they need to shoot, but have patience. And then very important, keep the ball on the floor when passing. If the ball is bouncing or it's up in the air, it's difficult when you're receiving the ball to control the ball, and then the defense will have better time in order to get the ball from the attacking team. So train your athlete to keep the ball on the floor when they are passing it. This is so important. At the moment, there is the World Championship in floorball, and if you go on YouTube, you can see highlights from the games. I would really emphasize that you try and watch some of the games, and you will see that all the passing is done with the ball on the floor. It's not that often that they put the ball up in the air because it's very difficult to control the ball up there. And then when you have shooting from distance, use the drag shot. And if you're like, oh, what is the drag shot, by the way, go to YouTube and just type drag shot, and then you can see how it's done. This is the most effective way to shoot from distance. So go to YouTube, check out what is a drag shot. And I think that would sound up my presentations, and I will give the word back.
Thank you, Steen, for the wonderful presentation. The information will be so beneficial to all our Special Olympics coaches. Steen, we have some questions from you. Steph will send there soon. How can coaches engage a group of mixed ability football players?
Sorry, Tommy, could you please repeat it?
Sure. Okay. How can coaches engage a group of mixed ability football players?
Thank you very much for a very good question, Tommy. I think the role of the coach is so important to create a good atmosphere so that we have respect for each other, no matter if we are a good player or a less good player. So this is how we as the coaches need to teach our players on how to behave toward each other, and also to try to give the players roles so they are like together 2 and 2 and they have a buddy when you're going to the World Games, those of you who are going there. So when you're out there, so you have a buddy at your team and you're responsible for your body. This creates a good atmosphere within the team, that so we take care of all players.
How can coaches best include fitness captains in their training and preparing for competition?
I think it's so important that you try to keep it as basic as possible. And this is no matter what kind of sport you have, keep it as basic as possible. This is the best way to do it. And then also try to involve the team in order to get this going. How would we like to do this? So involvement one way of the other.
Special Olympics offers a number of fantastic resources for coaches to continue to learn and improve their coaching and knowledge. Special Olympics Learning Portal. The Special Olympics Online Learning Portal has a number of course, relating to coaching, fitness, health, protective behaviors. To link to online learning portal in the chat. The Special Olympics website hosts a number of different resource page for different areas. Be sure to check out resources specialolympics.org for access to all of these amazing resources, including Unified Sports, Divisioning, and Floorball resource page for rules and coaching materials. All of these pages will help you with your coaching of Special Olympics athletes. This year, we continue to have our interactive dashboard for you to engage more with the webinar series. Here you will find links to resources, recordings of webinars, the presenters slide, the option to ask our presenters, and most question. This interactive dashboard is your one-stop shop for everything coach webinar series related. The next workshop tomorrow will about coaching badminton with our partners, Badminton World Federation. Thank you again to our partner Gallagher for their support of the Special Olympics Coach Webinar Series 2024. Register now if you haven't already, so don't miss out. Goodbye.